as the injury curse hit West Ham once again. Oh my days, here we go again as we are hearing reports that Nicholas Fullkrug will be unavailable for selection for Germany in their game against Holland, Netherlands tonight in their Nations League game because of problems with his Achilles tendon. Now, he has joined West Ham, came off the bench in 3 Premier League games for us so far this season since joining us from Borussia Dortmund, but did start in the game against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup. But he was then in action for Germany on Saturday, bagging a goal again in their 5-0 demolition of Hungary. But he is going to be missing for the game against the Dutch tonight. Now, West Ham obviously have a massive game coming up at the weekend against Fulham at Craven Cottage, and it remains to be seen whether or not the player will be available for selection. But let's put it out there and let's just be realistic with regards to this. He's not ruptured his Achilles tendon, but he is feeling a niggle in his Achilles tendon. And usually when you have this, you're not risked. That's the reason why he will have left the camp. They'll be managing this situation. I know this from personal experience. 2 reasons. I'll tell you why. I have also ruptured my Achilles tendon, so obviously he's not done that. And that is a long-term injury. I'm also, as part of that process, they explain the whole process. And if you feel a niggle in your Achilles, then what they do is you manage you week on week. So I'm assuming he will come off of grass contact sport. So therefore will not be involved in any form of training sessions, and they'll manage and see. And ice becomes really important, and the cold becomes really important for your Achilles. They have to be iced at every moment at all. And now listen, I'm not saying it's going to be ice. I think in the modern technology, in the modern world, that what the physios and all the doctors have got access to, especially the players at West Ham, then I think that he will be getting the best support possible. But you could probably expect for Fullkrug to be out for the coming weeks. I think this could be upwards of 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how he recovers and how well he reacts to treatment. I know someone personally who plays youth pro football who had a niggle with their Achilles, and they were missing for 6 weeks. And then they were given a gradual progression back into game time. And obviously they check on your Achilles to make sure, do you feel it? Do you feel the niggles? But they have to if you're overstretched and overworked. And the problem probably could be down to the fact that Fullkrug has not necessarily been playing a lot recently. And that could fall into the negative of why he's not been playing at West Ham, because apparently when he came to West Ham and he got off the plane, he was like, I need to train straight away. Like, where do I start training? And I think it's because obviously he's got a bit of a history with an injury record. And I think at his age, and not just his age, but there are some footballers out there that just need to keep going. You know, you always hear this rumour about, or this story about when Jared Bowen was never left out of West Ham's team. And I think it's because Jared Bowen is just that sort of person that needs to keep training, needs to keep playing, needs to keep physically fit. It looks like Fullkrug is one of those players that he needs to keep going. And I think when he stops going, things start to not work. And maybe that falls down on West Ham. Maybe that is the same old West Ham, hence the part of the title that I've put in the show. Maybe that when we've brought in Fullkrug, who has had a full preseason, but we haven't bedded him into the Premier League, maybe the issue we had was we probably should have played him from the start. Now, listen, I'm little old Anton sitting here talking to you about this whole situation from my sunroom, whatever you call this place, and I'm not, obviously I have a full-time Premier League coach, but this just I can't help but think that this is very similar to the situation that West Ham have done all our lifetime with strikers that we've brought in. I go back to Gianluca Scamacca. When he came to West Ham, he didn't start the season and he was bedded in to the team. But for me, I feel like if you're going to sign someone who's had a full preseason under their belt, who's fighting fit, why not just start them from the off? There's a reason you've brought the player in. There's a reason why you've brought the striker in. It's the one thing I've never understood about this is just throw them in. I know I always bring up that Erling Haaland situation with Manchester City, but when they signed him, albeit very early in the transfer window, they played him from the off in the first game of the season. And then straight away, okay, he is a whole new ball game. But when he scored, he was off the mark from day one, and you can't underestimate getting off the ball, off the mark from day one. I do think there's a player in Fullkrug. I'm excited about the prospects of Fullkrug, but what I'm concerned about is how we've managed him individually. It would make me concerned. And this is what would concern me, is that when he's not starting for West Ham and we're not doing anything else up top, that then he goes away with Germany and they start him and they play him and they know how they get the best out of him. I know they play a different system. I know West Ham play a different system, but it looks like that this could have played into a detrimental and had a detrimental impact to West Ham now by not featuring him as much as what he has needed to have been featured, especially if West Ham trajectory is to play him a little more often. So we're led to believe it's an Achilles tendon issue. It's not ruptured. They're being careful with it. They're managing the injury. They're going to have to keep an eye on it. There could be something linked to his calf, but if anyone doesn't know, your Achilles is along and related to your calf. So your Achilles is what connects your foot to your calf, and if you rupture it, then the Achilles rolls up your leg, really. And some people feel pain, some people don't feel pain. When I ruptured my Achilles tendon, I didn't feel pain. But what you can't do is you don't have the movement in your foot. Your foot just stays like that. So, for example, if you drive a car, you can't press down on the pedal. You don't have the strength to push down on the pedal. I was fortunate enough not to have pain, but I do know someone who has had tendon issues, and they just have to manage it. However, they've come out the other side of this now, and they are playing again regularly. And this is something that I think West Ham are going to have to manage really, really well. You cannot throw Nicholas Fullkrug in. That's why I don't think he'll play against Fulham. If there is an Achilles tendon situation there, I think he will be ruled out for that Fulham game, at least minimum, possibly the next couple of games after that. But again, it could be related to, if it's not his Achilles tendon, it's just a little tiny calf issue, or he's overstretched or something like that, then hopefully it's just minor. But if there is Achilles tendon issue and or a calf issue, then we probably expect to see him sidelined for a minimum of a month and a half to 2 months. So be prepared, West Ham, and hopefully it's not history repeating itself with us. I think we'll come out of it the other side, hopefully, touch wood, and we're going to be managing the situation. But if you are new around here, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Lots of cool stuff coming your way on the West Ham Network. Also go across, if you haven't joined us on the member program, go across and join us on that as well. Take it easy and come on your own.